So welcome everybody to the April Art Byte. Um, this is something that we've been doing now for a couple of years through the Alaska Arts Education Consortium. And Art Bytes are usually monthly arts integration professional development workshops that are designed to help support Alaska's teachers to integrate arts across the curriculums. And each month we try to bring in a new topic or technique or medium taught by our own educators and brought to you through distance delivery, which is the way of the world right now. So we hope that throughout this hour, you're given some great tools to help you integrate arts into your curriculum and classroom practice. And I know we've got some kids joining us, which we're really excited to have you guys too. And some of this is kind of geared towards teachers, but you'll get to do some singing and dancing as well. So if everybody would mind putting their name in the chat, that would be really awesome. And where you're calling in from. That would be great. And then also, if you do have to leave early, we record these sessions. So if you'd like to receive the link to where you can go watch the recording, or if you want to receive the resources that Suzzuk is going to share with us today, you can put your email in the chat as well. So today I'd like to introduce our featured educator and teacher leader extraordinaire, Suzzuk Mary Huntington. She hails from Shishmaref, Alaska, up on the Chukchi Sea, and has held a myriad of positions up in the Bering Strait region, from math teacher to assistant principal to principal, and now serves as the coordinator of cultural programs for the district. And she really is inspiring to me personally, and is just a wonderful educator and works really hard to integrate students' cultural backgrounds into their learning. So along with being a great educator and leader, Suzzuk is also a really talented sewer and beater, Inupiaq dancer, piano, guitar player, and a lifelong learner of the Inupiaq language. So I'll turn it over to Suzzuk, and I really thank you so much for taking time to share with us today.
Thank you. Let me see, how do I say it? Julie. Wang Suzzuk, kita miurunga, aglan pakmami, ungalak lang mi, Inupiaq tunga, Bering Strait School District mi so itunga. Coordinator of cultural programs. Huya suratunga atohama tuli kileahama. My name is Suzzuk, and all the rest practically she already said. I'm from Shishmaref, Aglan Pakmami, Unga Laksangmi. But right now I live in Inupiaq, Inupiaq. So if you don't mind putting in the chat your role or what brought you here. So what in your work or life made you decide to come to this workshop today? So please enter that in the chat so I get a little taste of who we are. Nice. I know, Bosh, look, hello, welcome. I'm so happy to see you. Were you the one who was guest, and did you rename yourself as Bosh? Yeah, okay. So my plan for today, and we'll see if it remains, let's see who else. And I haven't seen a chat from Celeste, but I recognize her from our district. Brooke, I don't recognize your name. Oh, there it is. Celeste is right there. Yay, welcome. And so we may or may not follow exactly what I had planned. I will start with it anyway. So my goals are to actually have us learning a song. And I will move into my screen share. Let's see if I navigate okay. And but even more than that, we're going to be reflecting on the process of our learning as we go through this. So let's see here. And do you see, Robin, the PowerPoint?
Yes. Yep.
And do you see the things on the side?
Yeah, it's not in presentation mode yet.
Okay. There it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the advertised goals are that we're going to learn Inupiaq through song and dance, that we are going to talk about the strategies of building vocabulary through song. We will touch upon building partnerships with elders. We will look at differentiating between elementary and high school, and how this whole process is really truly about making difficult content both accessible and fun. Our agenda, if we go along with it, is first I will introduce myself, then I am going to sing for you the entire song. We will do a quick write. If you don't have paper, I don't mind if you reflect individually, but as I continue going through this agenda, you might want to find scrap paper. And then we will sing Five Little Monkeys together, transitioning slowly from English to Inupiaq, interspersed many times with either small group or individual reflections. And at the very end, I will share some of the tips and tricks for the logistics of being able to use this type of teaching method for your instruction. Are there any questions before we begin, or comments?
Did we keep our mics on? Do you want to hear us singing it? Or should we mute ourselves?
Yet. Either way, yeah, you can mute yourselves. I would like for you to at least keep your cameras on. Okay. Yep. And I'm not too familiar with how to make sure I can see everybody when we do that.
If you choose gallery view, once you get the options, you can see most people anyway.
Okay, cool. Oops. And I will see if, do you see me again? Okay, so I will sing for you first, and then I will ask you a couple questions that I would like you to quick write and write your responses after watching me sing.
I still see the agenda, not you.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
There you are.
So I stopped sharing. Whew. Let's see. All right. I'm saying this because this is not the way I normally want to do this. I never show the entire thing first. But as this is allowing us as teachers to reflect on the process of learning and the feelings we go through as we do it, I will show you the entire song before we get started. Five Little Monkeys. Talimat monkey rat. Talimat monkey rat. Nutaktuat sinigvingni. Adosap ijukato asinekiluni. Akamhora dakti. Suli dakti ipsaktuk. Asin a monkey. Nutaknaglik sinigvingni. Titamat monkey rat. Nutaktuat sinigvingni. Adosap ijukato asinekiluni. Akam kura dakti, tuli dakti ipsaktok, asin monkey, nutak naglit sinig vigni. Pingasut monkey rat nutak tuat sinig vigni. Adosak isukatok asinek hiluni. Akam kura dakti, tuli dakti ipsaktok, asin monkey, nutak naglit sinig vigni. Malruk monkey rak nutak tuak sinig vigni. Adosak isukatok asinek hiluni. Akam kura dakti, suli dakti ipsaktok, asin monkey, nutak naglit sinig vigni. Adosak monkey rak nutak tuak sinig vigni. Adosak isukatok asinek hiluni. Akam kura dakti, tuli dakti ipsaktok, asin monkey, nutak naglit sinig vigni. That is the song. I see Robin clapping. And here is the first prompt. So this is independent reflection first. So I'm going to ask you not to share out. So go ahead and write, or if you are in the family and you want to talk with children and parent together, you're welcome to just speak with each other. The first question is, what could you hear or pick up of the Inupiaq vocabulary? And then how do you feel when I say I expect you to sing this with me before our 1 hour long class is over? All right, if you'd like more time, please go ahead and interrupt me. Otherwise, anybody want to share their any thoughts? You're not required to, but you're welcome to.
Sure, I'll share, Suzzuk. While you were singing, I heard some endings, repeated throughout. The repetitive vocabulary and the hand motions were helpful in understanding the vocabulary. The number words stood out to me. Some of the words and the endings that you're using are familiar, similar to the language we speak down here on Kodiak. And lots of the, each verse, it's repetition. So it doesn't seem quite as daunting as a task, knowing that most of the words are repeated each line, and it's just 1 or 2 changes each time. So not too daunting.
Thank you for sharing. Anyone else want to share some of their reflections?
This is Celeste. I'm from Savunga, but currently in California. I could identify the repeated words, and my feeling about singing the song, terrified, because I can't sing.
Right, thank you for sharing. Anyone else want to share their thoughts and reflections so far? Okay, now I didn't add, how do those feelings influence how you feel about me personally, and particularly if it is intimidating are you resentful or any of that, and then how much of that is determined by the relationship we already have? Just think about that a little bit. So does anybody want to add any thoughts on how the expectations influence what you think about me, and then the relationship that we have? And you could even extend it at, which we got a hint of in our first reflection, is your familiarity with the words in it already. Any thoughts?
This is Barbara. I was just going to say that, well, having known you, and your facial expressions and your expressions really help a lot. I don't know if that actually answers any of the questions, but it's something I wanted to add. You know,
yes, thank you.
It really helps a lot. Your words are tied to your hands, and that's good. That helps teach.
Mm-hmm.
This is Robin, and I even after spending the winter learning this with you alongside the preschoolers in Inupiaq, I really I guess I'm more answering the first couple of questions, but remembering most of the words. There's some gaps there where I think I wasn't there, but I think I feel really excited to be able to sing with you before class is over. And then because I already know you, and I agree with Barb that your facial expressions bring this, even if I didn't know you, I feel like I want to sing with you because it's just fun. And so that influences my own feeling of feeling like welcomed or encouraged to be able to try.
Right. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else want to share their thoughts on any of these prompts before we move into learning? All right, so let's begin then. I have to keep my notes to make sure. So every time, I just want to add that every time I teach this song, I teach it slightly differently, even with the intention of doing it the exact same way, in terms of the order of transitioning from English to Inupiaq. So let me see, raise your hand if you are familiar with the Five Little Monkeys in English, and this is not a completely foreign song. Okay, and raise your hand if we're going into brand new territory and Five Little Monkeys is brand new and you don't have a construct for it already. Okay, I totally cannot see, but that's okay. I'm going to assume we all know. So we will start with Five Little Monkeys, and for the first time, I'm going to do this with the assumption that you do not already know how to count in Inupiaq. Every time I've taught it before, I've taught it with the assumption that we have already learned in the past how to count, and we just incorporate the numbers right from the start. So from here on out, please sing along with me. I will leave it up to you whether or not you want to do it with your microphones on or off. At this point, I don't know if all of us speaking at the same time would cause all kinds of interference, and yeah, so maybe not. I think it would cause all kinds of interference based on yesterday's other meeting. So we'll go ahead and sing. I'm not going to ask you to do it independently at this point, probably not really at any point throughout this 1 hour that we have together. But I would like you to keep your video cameras on. 5 little monkeys jumping on the bed. One fell off and bumped his head. Mama called the doctor, and the doctor said, No more monkeys jumping on the bed. 4 little monkeys jumping on the sinigvit. One fell off and bumped his knuckle. Mama called the doctor, and the doctor said, no more monkeys jumping on the sinigvit. 3 little monkeys jumping on the sinigvit. One fell off and bumped his knuckle. Mama called the doctor, and the doctor said, no more monkeys jumping on the sinigvit. 2 little monkeys jumping on the sinigvit. One fell off and bumped his knuckle. Mama called the doctor, and the doctor said, no more monkeys jumping on the sinigvit. Self-reflection here. Think about the difficulty of this first transition with the 3 words and your willingness to engage in this first activity. Think about if it changed between the time we started and the time that I stopped us, how you're, well, go ahead. This is where I want us to break out into small groups, but I don't know how to do that. So we're just going to go ahead and do it. Our group is small enough that we can just, whichever are interested in popcorning out, we can do that. So how did your perception of the difficulty affect your willingness to participate, and how would scaffolds or intervention change engagement level? If I provided written lyrics, for example, would that increase your participation? And then how might your feelings compare to those of your students? So would anybody like to share their thoughts on these prompts?
I feel written would help me.
And this is Celeste, and I feel that the written lyrics would not help me because of not knowing the language at all. It's better for me to hear it and then repeat it. Even like, I can't, the last word, I just said it to myself. I know I didn't say it right, but so I'm not familiar with your language at all because I'm from Savunga. So it's totally like a new language.
Mm-hmm.
Written lyrics would definitely help me, and the second question I can't answer.
Thank you for sharing with us. Okay, so here are, I'm going to go ahead, because I did the one in English, we're going to go ahead and do all 5 verses with the words right here on the screen. Can you see them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
5, sing with me. 5 little monkeys jumping on the sinigvit. One fell off and bumped his knuckle. Mama called the doctor, and the doctor said, no more monkeys jumping on the sinigvit. 4 little monkeys jumping on the sinigvit. One fell off and bumped his knuckle. Mama called the doctor, and the doctor said, no more monkeys jumping on the sinigvit. 3 little monkeys jumping on the sinigvit. One fell off and bumped his knuckle. Mama called the doctor, and the doctor said, no more monkeys jumping on the sinigvit. 2 little monkeys jumping on the sinigvit. One fell off and bumped his knuckle. Mama called the doctor, and the doctor said, no more monkeys jumping on the scenic feet. One little monkey jumping on the scenic feet. He fell off and bumped his knuckle. Mama called the doctor, and the doctor said, no more monkeys jumping on the scenic feet. So now I want you to think of this, that we've had both just audibly and then with the lyrics. I can say raise your hand even though I can't see you just because of my screen sharing. If you were unwilling before and are now willing to sing along with the lyrics added, please raise your hand. And if you go ahead and put them down, if you force yourself to participate with just the auditory, even though you hate it and were miserable during the process, raise your hand, put them down. If the lyrics makes it easier, but you would still go along even without it, raise your hand. And then the words are a distraction from your learning and or from enjoying the song. Raise your hand. And then finally, even with the lyrics, you already decided this is not for you. For a voluntary Google Meet like this, or a Hangout, or whatever we call it, a virtual meeting, this is usually not anybody, so I tried not to lead with it, but those are some of the places on the continuum where we may fit, and I'm hoping, and Robin, you can, you'll know better because you might be able to see everybody, hoping that we have a mix. We have a mix, and I'm really hoping that we will have some opportunities to get our comfort zone and outside of our comfort zone. So now let's go ahead and do the next transition, the next verse. This time I've loaded the vocabulary before we sing it, and it's there as we go. Okay, so we are adding to the ones we've already done. And I want to also add real quick before we do it, I struggled in the very beginning when Robin asked if I would do this with the idea that we're doing it in an hour. Normally I do each of these a day, and the next day we add the next ones, and the next day we add the next one. So we're going to make the transition within the hour. We may or may not get through the entire song. We could, depending on our reflections and such. So here is something I normally won't do, but I will add this additional scaffold with the lyrics added as we begin. 5 little monkeys jumping on the scenic feet. A dosa fell off and bumped his knuckle. Akka called the doctor, and the doctor said, no more monkey jumping on the scenic feet. 4 little monkeys jumping on the scenic feet. A dosa fell off and bumped his knuckle. Akka called the doctor, and the doctor said, no more monkey jumping on the scenic feet. 3 little monkeys jumping on the scenic feet. A dosa fell off and bumped his knuckle. Akka called the doctor, and the doctor said, no more monkey jumping on the scenic feet. A dosa little monkey jumping on the scenic feet. A dosa fell off and bumped his knuckle. Akka called the doctor, and the doctor said, no more monkey jumping on the scenic feet. Alrighty, so now, let me see if I can see everyone. Oh, I mean, stop sharing. And let me get it larger view. So now, this time, let's reflect on our actual vocabulary learnings, okay? What do you know? What do you remember? Think about it. Go ahead, think individually, and we will popcorn out real quick again. Okay, anybody want to share? What vocabulary have you learned?
I've learned Aka, Inupiaq, Adoshik, Inupiaq, Monkpeat, some others. I don't know if I'll remember them.
Okay, so let me do a whip around real quick, since I realized we would have people talking at the same time. And you could either say, you could say it in whichever way you want to. So what I mean is, if you are brave and have an extensive knowledge of one of our Eskimoan languages and are comfortable with giving the actual vocabulary terms, like we just heard, you can do that. And if you are intimidated and not really want to, you can, one, either pass, or two, you could say, I think I know the meaning of bed. And it's the one that starts with, or, you know, whatever level of learning you feel like you gained in this process. So don't feel like you have to translate everything for me. And if you are not comfortable with saying a word without having them visibly on the screen, go ahead and just say whatever in your mind you have constructed so far based on the vocabulary we've learned. So I am going to go bottom to top, and I will still include you even if you've gone. Robin, start us off.
I knew all of the words, and to me it was really cool to see how they're spelled, because if I had seen them spelled before I knew them orally, I would have totally said them differently. Just
right? Yep. Perfect.
So,
Thank you for sharing
it's cool
that.
to see them in the spelling.
Peggy?
Yep. Dakti.
Okay, and tell me about Dakti.
Oh, sure. Dakti is doctor.
Nice. Okay, thank you. Pahluk?
I feel like I'm cheating a little bit.
I know you are. Okay, you don't have to if you don't want to. So, Pahluk, for all of you guys that the majority of us here are here as teachers, and Pahluk is here as an Inupiaq language warrior.
So I'll say them anyway, but I don't feel bad because I knew them all. I knew the vocabulary coming in, but we have, I think, if I can remember the 6: Adosik, Dakti, Aka, Nakok, Sinigleach. Get to learn some Tishmaref.
So I want to even point out, sometimes as we have now Pahluk and we have Peggy, both who have working knowledge of similar words, and sometimes the hard part is not to say the one you already know in the dialect, or, you know, and to replace it. And so I'm going to add also that I am absolutely 100% with you, comfortable with you accidentally doing that. To go ahead, and if you already know the word, go ahead and use the word of your language, and we'll fill in the rest with mine. And if it ends up a weird mix, that's fine. So I'll add that. But for you, Pahluk, I will challenge you to learn the Shishmaref.
I want to learn your way.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Yep. Christy.
Sinigleach, bed, Aka, mom, Nyakok, head, Atausik, one, Docty, Doctor, Monkey, Monkey, and did I miss any?
I didn't count. They all sounded good, and I'm not going to even add any refining of anybody's responses. And we'll talk about that later. So Celeste, thank you, Christy. Celeste.
Okay, so docty or doctor, the spelling did help because when I was in St. Michael, I learned that T says D, so that was helpful. And then for the head and for the bed, I know one starts with an S, the bed, but I can't remember it right now. If I was to say it with somebody, I could, but possibly. But anyway, and then the head started with N and the bed started with S.
Nice. Thank you, Celeste. Barb?
The ones that sound like English, taxi and monkey.
Yay! That's good. Then that was the first easiest transition to make for you.
Yeah, yeah.
And now you're learning how to have an Inupiaq from Shishmarath accent. Thank you, Barb. And then Allison, if you would go first and have each of your kids go next.
Keenan or Jilly, do you guys want to say something? No, your lights are off down there. I can't see you. Allison's their mom, so their screen always has her name on it.
Okay.
She's not there.
And so they're in the same room as you, though. So I mean, they're in the
No, they're not.
No.
They're at their own house.
Oh,
Okay, I have things that. Okay, I learned all of the words. Scenic V, Aka, Aka. I just learned all the words today, so yeah.
Nice. Thank you.
Can't
And
name
your
all of them
brother?
right now because I'm fixing this.
How about you, Jilly?
I don't know.
That's okay. All right. So we did our quick whip around. Everybody got a chance to reflect on their learning and get comfortable with talking and sharing our thought process out loud with each other. So part of the reason I'm doing this is actually to make sure we have a little bit of space in between our learning. So I, one, wanted to focus on reflection, but two, I also wanted to make sure we have some space in between each of our versions. All right, so let me see. Those are the only ones I typed up for a number of reasons. One of which is, so I made sure I threw in an extra slide that says continue song. Remember, our objective is independent learning through productive struggle, and we will continue the song interspersed with reflections. So let me go back to where I can see you. I also do not have the rest of the transitions lesson planned out for what we will be doing in what order. It is now 20 minutes left for our time together. And let me double check we will need about 10 minutes at least to go over the final little things, which will mostly be my reflections, my talking through some of how I planned it. But let's go ahead and continue learning. I will stop when I think it would be a good time to stop. If I end up starting to make things overwhelming, please feel free to break in and start talking about something. So we have...
Are you sharing your screen or
no?
no?
I'm not. I don't think so. I stopped the sharing and I looked at my let me just show you what it says real briefly. My placeholder to make sure that I don't skip ahead to the things I don't want us to see. Okay, let's keep going. And another thing I'm going to likely do is transition each verse, even though it's going to put our brains in a little bit overload. Chalimat. little monkey. Oh, I already forget I were doing it in English. Sorry. Let's do it back in English. What? How many of you do not know how to count in an Eskimo language? Okay. Okay. Yep. So we'll go ahead and count in English. Okay. 5 little monkeys jumping on the scenic beat. A dose of fell and bumped his knuckle. Akka called the doctor, and the doctor said, "No more monkey jumping on the scenic beat." 4 little monkeys jumping scenic wingy. A dose of fell and bumped his knuckle. Akka called the doctor, and the doctor said, "No more monkey jumping scenic wingy." 3 little monkeys jumping scenic wingy. A dose of fell and bumped his knuckle. Akka called the doctor, and the doctor said, "No more monkey jumping scenic wingy." Malguk, little monkey jumping scenic wingy. A dose of fell and bumped his knuckle. Akka called the doctor, and the doctor said, "No more monkey jumping scenic wingy." A dose of little monkey jumping scenic wingy. A dose of fell and bumped his knuckle. Akka called the doctor, and the doctor said, "No more monkey jumping scenic wingy." We won't share out. What did we learn? What did we learn? We won't share out. Just think about it. Now, next one. 5 monkey rat jumping scenic wingy. A dose of fell and bumped his knuckle. Akka called the doctor. "Sully," doctor said, "no more monkey jumping scenic wingy." 4 monkey rat jumping scenic wingy. A dose of fell and bumped his knuckle. Akka called the doctor. "Sully," doctor said, "no more monkey jumping scenic wingy." 3 monkey rat jumping scenic wingy. A dose of fell and bumped his knuckle. Akka called the doctor. "Sully," doctor said, "no more monkey jumping scenic wingy." Malguk, monkey rock jumping scenic wingy. A dose of fell and bumped his knuckle. Akka called the doctor. "Sully," doctor said, "no more monkey jumping scenic wingy." A dose of monkey rock jumping scenic wingy. A dose of fell and bumped his knuckle. Akka called the doctor. "Sully," doctor said, "no more monkey jumping scenic wingy." Any thoughts or reflections on what we've learned or how we've learned it or anything whatsoever to break up our brain cramping, force ourselves through this before we learn the next section?
It's a perfect song to learn. because it's short and simple and we repeat it 5 times. So every time you add something new, I have 5 chances to pick it up.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't feel like I'm making you repeat the same thing over and over again because we're just working
Yeah,
through it.
and nobody can hear me when I do a really poor job. It's good too.
Thank you, Barb. Anyone else?
I just really agree with my grandma.
Oh, nice. Thank you for stating it and contributing and participating. Anyone else?
I think I didn't pick up on this before, but the endings change from when it's as the monkeys get less, and I think I have been saying the same ending
Well,
as
and
when
you
I
were
learned this
there when I
part.
emphasized this, so I emphasized this very deliberately this time. So let's go ahead and do the next one real quick to solidify that. Okay. 5 monkey rat nutak tuat sinig vigni atosakala pan pumptis nakok akakal the doctor Sulidakti said, "No more monkey nutak tuat sinig vigni." 4 monkey rat nutak tuat sinig vigni atosakala and pumptis nakok akakal the doctor Sulidakti said, "No more monkey nutak tuat sinig vigni." 3 monkey rat nutak tuat sinig vigni atosakala and pumptis nakok akakal the doctor Sulidakti said, "No more monkey nutak tuat sinig vigni." 2 monkey ruck nutak tuak sinig vigni atosakala and pumptis nakok akakal the doctor Sulidakti said, "No more monkey nutak tuat sinig vigni." 1 monkey ruck nutak tuak sinig vigni atosakala and pumptis nakok akakal the doctor Sulidakti said, "No more monkey nutak tuat sinig vigni." Anybody want to talk about the rules of the endings and talk about how many there are? Anybody want to share their thoughts on what rules those might be? Robin, you can't be first.
I can't go first.
You
I
can't
don't
go
want to
first
go
because you
first.
already pointed it out. And so some may or may not have noticed before you said it. You have a more familiarity and then so anybody else want to talk about that piece and what you think might be happening or what you think you probably know is happening even based on your experience with these languages?
So this is Christy.
Uh-huh.
The ending, I'm guessing, means little monkey, little for the
So
monkey.
yes, so we didn't talk about that piece. So little monkey versus monkeys. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then if it's like Yupik, then the T at the end is 3 or more. The K at the end is dual, and the Q at the end is singular.
Mm-hmm. And so she's familiar with this concept academically and how it would look So here I have a question for you guys. So we've differentiated between singular, dual with 2 or 3 or more being plural. If how many of you guys realized there was a difference between 1 and 2? And how many of you thought there was a difference between singular and plural and thought 1 and 2 was the same? And how many thought there was just singular and plural and didn't realize there was a difference? So anyway, so my point, so I'm going to go ahead and get back into the next pieces. So there are a number of things. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back to my slideshow, I guess, because we are within 10 minutes. And I'm just going to leave it this way. So when I planned these transitions, which really was as we were going along to some degree, the first words I chose very deliberately, I wanted to use aka because I thought it would be more familiar. And I usually use the numbers because they're usually familiar. But if we're unfamiliar, numbers are crazy hard. So I made sure to not include the numbers. And each of them were concrete nouns. One maybe not so much. But bed, head, doctor, mama, monkeys. And then in particular, monkeys and bed were said twice. So it was even more repetitious than the 5 verses that we said it 10 times when we did it as we first started. Now the second batch were, later we moved into, so aka was no longer at the end of the stanza. I chose not to include aka so that we would pause at the very end of the stanza. So there's these are the tips and tricks and some of the things that I was doing that I didn't really discover as I was doing it the first time, but as I taught over time, I would notice, oh shoot, I shouldn't have picked a word right at the beginning of the stanza because it threw us all off. And they're small things that are insignificant, and I don't stress about them, but they help to make things considerate for really tough learning to become easier. And then all of the first words we use actually transition later into another form of the word. So sinigvit is not actually part of the song when we're done. Sinigvit is the word for bed, but by the second time we started going through, I changed it to sinigvingni, which is, I didn't tell you what it means, but does anybody want to say what they think sinigvingni means?
On the
Jumping
bed?
on the bed?
On the bed. Yep, on the bed. Sinigvingni, on the bed. So we changed the ending to make it on the bed. And I purposely don't want anything written down, and I purposely don't pre-teach you anything so one of our goals is for you to construct your own learning, to construct your own meaning, and to figure out these patterns naturally and think and work critically to find them. And you may or may not have the validation that what you think it means is what it means until later, but that's okay. So same with as we get to monkit, and it moved into monkirat. So what's the difference between monkit and monkirat?
The ending means little.
Yep. So when we do monkirat, Christy pointed that out for us earlier, that we added an ending that changed it to little monkeys, monkirat versus monkit. And so one of the things that threw me off when I was transitioning, I wanted to change the monkit at the end to singular and dual, which isn't appropriate because the very end he just says no more monkeys jumping on the bed. And so it wouldn't make sense for me to change it in the end. Later, if we had more time and we continued, and if I wasn't so focused on our reflections, we would have also seen that it would become sin monkit, nutang nerlit, sinigvigni. And so instead of it becoming no more monkeys, which we got the positive form of jumping nutuktuat. Later it becomes nuternerlit, don't jump. It's a negative of that word. And so that's one, there's two pieces in here in the final version of the song that are really complex grammatical applications of what we're doing. And I don't ever articulate and go over them. We will learn them when we learn them. And another one is Aka called the doctor. Akam kokoara dakti. And this batluk is for you. We have intransitive verb ending right in there in the middle of the song. And what changes the meaning of it, so we don't go to our simplified version that we learn in order of a grammar class. We get into complex language structure even with the song, and we will understand what it means even if we don't understand why it means that. And so the next piece I want to talk about is this indigenous learning style, apprentice style. First, you observe to gain familiarity. Really, because this was Five Little Monkeys, we were all familiar. We really didn't need to observe. My singing it ahead of time was to show the end product, and also to make sure that we know well what we're going to, and also I really wanted to give the opportunity for, this is too hard, I can't do it, I don't want to, the opportunity for those feelings to creep in, because most of what I wanted to do was to allow us to really think about setting up our kids and remembering that feeling that they may be feeling in relation to that. And then with multiple opportunities to experience it, we sang and we sang and we sang and we sang. Barb mentioned the repetitious nature of this song. By singing it over and over, the mechanics started to settle in. Even if you didn't know the motions in the start, even if you didn't know the tune that I would be using, even if you didn't know the vocabulary, all those extra little pieces were falling into place as we just kept doing the same thing over and over, learning something a little bit new. And once those mechanics are in, as we reflect, the patterns and the things start to come out and we start to gain our understanding. So even if we do it, part of the reason I like to teach this style is I had learned songs as a kid, but I have no idea. I was just singing random sounds. I didn't know what any of what I was singing, what any of the words meant unless I already knew them. I couldn't tell where the one word ended and another one began. So I made sure we added motions to every single time. And then we transitioned little by little. Even if later you don't remember Sinigvit was something we learned because you're just used to Sinigvigni, you can think and sing it again to try to figure it back out. And then later we will get into mastery, getting efficient and improving processes and such. I've done this with Five Little Monkeys, Five Little Ducks, and the Hokey Pokey. These are all on Facebook. I'm gonna ask, I've done it with Star Spangled Banner, so it's not only in Inupiaq learning. The Star Spangled Banner, I taught kindergarten for a number of years, and it's a ridiculously complex song, and we would learn a stanza a day. For about a month and a half until we learned the whole thing and everybody knew it by heart with precision, and it was beautifully done. I did the same thing with the Alaska flag song. We did it in both English and sign language and lots of translated hymns. And we did it 5 to 10 minutes once or twice a day in the digestible chunks. And the key is we want to repeat it enough that it feels like it's easy enough to do. But as soon as we repeat it so much that it's boring, we need to move on. And so the first time we do it, I might do it more than just, I might sing the whole song twice as we get used to it. And over time, I won't go so long. Particularly difficult phrase, I might repeat that particular line, slow it down. But not to the degree that we start to get frustrated. So later, if we had time, we would have gone through the Nutangnerlit and the Akampora are the two areas that are really tough, either because of the different sounds to English or the concept of going into the negative. So we still move on, but we want enough familiarity with it that it's approachable again. And our brains are going to work on it in the background all night. And then tomorrow, I had so many people telling me that stupid song was stuck in my head for like 3 days. And they did it with appreciation and enjoyment. And then, so with high school, so one of the things, and I'm sorry I went too long with our singing, we're 2 minutes over, but I want to go ahead and touch on these real quick. Is with high school and adults, I usually always include the lyrics up front because engagement is my first priority. I watch for the barriers, the things that I insist on doing. Usually elementary, we have no problem getting right from the start, and the auditory is actually more important than the visual, and the visual will distract from the auditory. But it is more important to me to have students willing to participate. And so I will build in the scaffolds. I will watch for those barriers and make sure I get rid of them to make sure we have participation. And maybe in the third or fourth song, I might start to actually do it with complete auditory as I wish for. And same with paper and pencil activities, provide privacy and partner group, partner work, so that people who don't want to speak up in front of the whole class won't feel like they'll embarrass themselves, and give plenty of opportunities to pass or to use an alternate format to participate, like writing it out instead of singing it out loud. If it's a point of anxiety and, going to cause reluctance. But I do always go back and make sure that I make them do what we're expecting. We look for what we want to learn, but not if the method of instruction is going to create the barrier. Because as humans, we do want to have fun and to learn. Once we establish that trust, I will have high schoolers who will do the same kind of things I do in elementary. But right when I walk in, often they'll say, "I'm not doing no babyish stuff with you." Because I went from teaching kindergarten to teaching high school. And one of the first things one of my students said is, and this was mid-year, and they said, "I'm not doing no babyish kindergarten stuff with you." But once we build the trust that what they do is not going to be embarrassing, they're not going to lose face, they will demand from me as much as the little kids to play and have fun and do the games and singing and whatever. Reflection is more important than the content, building that capacity to learn and to trust ourselves and to look for it and to gain self-awareness in how we're learning and which way to go. Synthesizing moves it from the new content to the working memory, puts it in our own constructs. In terms of partnerships with elders, the main thing I wanted to say is the tips actually would come with, make sure you offer some kind of little thanks, and that when you make your requests that you talk about your goals. So it's not necessarily, I want you to do this exact thing for me. But really, we don't ever want to even get there without first establishing a strong relationship with somebody that might want to offer to help us. And when they engage, that's when we start to request. We don't just go lead up and, when first time we're introduced to an elder, say, "Hey, you want to translate these for me?" Or, "Hey," it is about the relationship, building that trust and credibility. And I have to include this because these are what we advertised. The main things I was hoping was that we get to reflect on the new learning we did, how you might incorporate some of these. And my objectives I leave for last, because part of what our biggest thing is becoming independent learners through productive struggle. and I want you to decide what you learned. I want you to reflect on what we went through, and how that relates to what your students go through. So those were my objectives for today, and really it's about relating this learning to what you might do in school, because I don't want you to actually teach Five Little Monkeys. Our goal was not that, but to use the process that we went through to be able to do similar type of fun work with your students. Okay, so sorry again, I apologize for being over. Any thoughts? Any thoughts or reflections from anyone else before we, and that's okay if
I wanted to say I really appreciated the way you broke it down and chunked it, the song and in the teaching and transitioning from English into the language. You know, we've taught many a translated song here on Kodiak, and always just jumping right in and going line by line in the language, and this is a much easier way to do it. So
yeah.
Very good method. Thank you for sharing.
Cool. Thank you. And the main reason too is the learning is on the kid. It's easy enough to be able to do, but we're not telling them what they're teaching them. They're learning to pay attention. They're learning to listen. They're learning to trust their own judgment on what they're figuring out.
Well, Koyana Suzzuk for sharing with us, and I really appreciated the reflection. I think that's something I don't do often enough, or ask my students to do often enough. So it's a good reminder. I liked what you said about us deciding what learning happened for us today. So so thanks so much, and thanks to all of you for tuning in to this Art Byte. I have a couple of quick announcements from the Alaska Arts Education Consortium. So a reminder that this is recorded, so if you're like, oh, I want to go back and practice and get this perfected, you can listen to this recording, or also go check out Suzzuk's Facebook, because she does break it down to those chunks. Or maybe not Suzzuk.
No, so actually what I was going to say related to that, I have multiple versions of it, and I have the lyrics that go along with my Facebook videos. I mean, like verbatim, when I accidentally said a word in English, I included that word in English, even though it wasn't supposed to be. So I want to make those available. Barb, between us, we'll figure out where is a good place for that as a package resource of using these particular songs. And same with this PowerPoint. I think if we could do a follow-up email with, here are the resources that you can use from what we did today, even though they're not exactly what we used.
Great. Yeah, thank you. So if you want to put your email in the chat, and then we'll be able to put those into a folder and send them off. And we do have other Art Bytes that are archived. So if you're interested in seeing those are posted on the Alaska Arts Ed Consortium page at akartsed.org. And we have one more Art Byte this year in May on the 13th. It's how to draw your pet, which will be really fun. My pet doesn't sit still long enough to try to draw him, but a quick sketch. So this one is with Joanne Knight of Kodiak, and that will be May 13th from 3:30 to 4:30. And if you're interested in getting the newsletter where these Art Bytes are announced, they go to the folks on the mailing list and for our member districts. And if you're not on the mailing list and would love to be, you can go to the website and click the Join Now button. And you can also find out more about upcoming workshops and institutes. Our summer institutes are taking a different shape with all of this pandemic stuff. But one of our institutes we're hoping to offer through distance learning. So stay tuned about that, and we hope to see you again next month. So thanks again, Suzzuk, and we'll see you on May 13th for some Draw Your Pet.
Thanks, Suzzuk. And Keenan, thank you for coming and sticking it out, honey.
Yes. And for real, Barb, if you want them to watch, I have a day 1 through day 8 learning that song and 2 other songs day by day in Facebook.
Okay, we'll find that when we're closer together, I think.
Yeah.
Brianna, Suzzuk, good to see you.
Teku, Tape Lucy, thank you for coming. Lilipsi, thank you all for coming. Good to see you.
Thank you for teaching me the song.
You're welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm off.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Yahoo! Thanks, Suzzuk.